Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film. Thanks for joining us today. I'm so happy that you were able to watch Steelers, and I'm very, very excited to have a Q&A with two very special guests. We have the director of the film, Amon Ashton Atkinson, and one of the subjects of the film, Nick Evans. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, and thanks to everyone who watched the film.
Hi.
Hello. How did this film come up for you?
How did it come about?
Yeah.
It was sort of by accident, really. I am a TV reporter and I do my own camera work, and I got concussed a couple of weeks before this big tournament, and I'd always dreamed of doing a documentary, and it was almost a bit of a personal challenge to see whether I could actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Nick the day before the tournament if I can come and bring my camera, and I didn't want to be a distraction to the team, but she was all for it, and I just sort of stood there filming like a fly on the wall, and amazing interviews, and then sort of realized that I had enough to pull together a 80-minute film.
You know, kudos to you, because I mean, the film, watching the film, you would never know this is a first-time filmmaker. How did you have the confidence and the know-how to be able to make a film like this?
Thanks, mate. Well, I've been working in TV for sort of 7, 8, 9 years, and been a reporter in front of the camera. I've also been a producer behind the scenes. So in London, I was working for the morning show Good Morning Britain, where we pulled together like minute 30 packages and music and all that stuff. So I sort of just treated it like an 80-minute news story in a way. Like, I had my voice, I wrote my script, I did all the things I would normally do, like listen to the interview, pull out the bits I want to use. And then it's like a jigsaw puzzle, except this was a giant mother of all jigsaw puzzles that I've ever done. And it just, I would edit it 5 minutes at a time, and I set myself this goal: okay, do not leave your computer until you've done 5 more minutes on the timeline.
Okay.
John would come home every day, and I'd be like a little puppy at the door saying, come watch, come watch. And he would give me very honest feedback about what was working and what wasn't. And then, yeah, it all kind of came together.
Nice. Nick, when you were approached about doing this, was there any hesitation?
No, I don't think so. I think because Eamon is an integral part of the club. The club's got, obviously it's really large. It was up to 150 probably by this point in time that I was there. And he was just really kind of well integrated into the club. And so it didn't feel like as if some stranger was imposing on us. It felt like just another person in the club, in the team meetings. And obviously with my language, you can tell that I didn't notice he was there sometimes. Yeah, and I also felt that the boys had worked really, really hard. And I felt like it could have been our year. We'd had a really successful league. We'd gone unbeaten throughout the league, and we'd won the league title. So I felt like it would be a lovely fairy tale ending, and something for the boys to actually kind of treasure going forward. It didn't work out like that, but that was kind of that was what was in my head, I guess.
How long did it take to film your segment?
We recorded your interview in about an hour, and Nick was the first person. And actually, when I arrived at the start of the tournament, the day before, where you see us do the warm-ups and that first training session, I didn't even have the 3 characters selected. And Nick, who I sort of knew before this process, but obviously got to know much, much more through making the film. It just was by accident that I was sitting next to her on the tram home, and I was like, Nick, how did you get into rugby anyway? And she told me the beautiful story about her grandfather, which was one of the most tender moments of the film and makes me cry every time. And I was like, you're one of the characters. And I asked her, I need someone else. Who do you recommend? And she suggested Drew, because of his drag and his sort of views on identity and masculinity. And again, by accident, I had volunteered to film all of his drag shows to kind of put on the club's social media pages. And I kept the footage for some reason. So I had all that material to work with. And then I knew Simon, I really wanted his story because of those mental health issues. And at first my intention wasn't to put myself in the film. I was going to let it be a self-narrated film with the characters. But once I edited it together, And I tried to do that. I got about halfway through and it just wasn't working and making sense. And I was like, okay, I need to, like a news report, put my voice in to explain what's happening. But if we have this random Aussie speaking, I need to explain why and then tell my own story. But, you know, Nick's interview, when she was so honest about it and it went so well, it really gave me the confidence at the start of the process to go, actually, I've got something really special here. This has the potential to be something more than what I had imagined.
Nice. You know, I really enjoyed the fact that this film is very much about the team, but it's also very much about the individuals, and the individuals all have their great stories to tell, and it's very, very vivid. So kudos to both of you on that. I just want to, I joked with you the other day when we were talking on Project Q about the fact that I saw this film really, I think I saw this it was in February that I saw this one and reached out to you, and you were literally the first film that we had in our festival. So thanks for being agreeable. But can you talk a little bit about, you know, the year this has been and you know, sort of your festival run and how this year has proceeded for you?
Sure. Look, it was supposed to have its premiere in BFI in London.
Yeah.
Cinema in South Bank, which would have been sort of a dream come true, and it sold out. And then we were about to get on the plane, and you know, like I'd bought a new suit. Nick, you had a dress lined up, and Drew was going to do your makeup, right?
Yep.
It was all called off, and so it was pretty devastating. And I haven't even seen this in a cinema with an audience. Which, I mean, how many people get to make a film that is going to run in cinemas, and then, you know, the fact that I haven't been able to see it yet has been pretty upsetting, but you just kind of have to roll with the punches. At the end of the day, I'm healthy, all my family's healthy.
Sure.
And as you said the other day, perhaps the silver lining is that on these virtual festivals, people who don't live in the major metropolitan cities might get the chance to log on and watch it. And it's really, I think it's a story that really, needs to be told.
Nick, we were talking about Buck Cook earlier. Buck just posted a comment. Cheers to Amon for making a great film about a great group of people. And cheers to Nick for bringing such a kick-ass coach and amazing person. So,
well, I'm just very lucky to work with a group of human beings that I really loved. I think coaching has to be a process of love, and I think you've got to pour that into wherever you do. I believe Amon's done that with this film, and I just felt really lucky with the people that I worked with. I felt like Drew's story was really important. I lecture in sport, and I think sport is quite problematic, especially for males. And I feel that sometimes it can be a really scary place. It can be quite a homophobic place, and and I think masculinity is sometimes really unhealthy. And somebody like Drew, for me personally, has a really healthy expression of his masculinities. You know, he is tough on the pitch, he is genuinely fabulous off the pitch, and so I thought that was a really important story to tell, because you can be so many things. You don't have to be one thing. You don't have to be pigeonholed into something. So feel very blessed, actually.
yes. Amon, can you talk a little bit about the stereotype that gay men don't like sports, don't participate in sports? Because I can tell you, as a longtime tennis player, that's just not true from my perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of it's sort of both things. Like for a lot of us growing up in school, whether we were out or not, like I know in my case, the kids could sense that I was gay, and so therefore that was definitely something to tease me about. And sport was kind of the worst place where that happened. In the change room, there were no teachers there. People were getting dressed, so they would always accuse me of trying to look at them and perv on them, and they all had a good laugh, and it was sort of the place I used to dread the most. And in the end, I ended up wagging all my sports classes because I just felt I dreaded it. And it's a shame, because playing team sport is this playing sport is this wonderful thing. You're outside, you're exercising, you're forming friendships, you're improving your health, you're achieving a goal. And for those of us who were kind of robbed of that experience, when there are these gay teams that you get to participate in, it's like this whole world opening up. And we kind of see that with players like, say, Tommy Precious. Nick, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I had the exact opposite. So sport was the safest place for me. You know, sport was where all my friends are, where my family are, where I met my partner. So sport gave me so much. And before I went to Steelers, I'd never done anything with our community. So I felt really worried about it because I thought they might hate me. So it was, you know, it's been a really defining moment for me to feel really proud of something, feel really proud of being part of the Steelers. And actually, a lot of men come to the Steelers really successful in business, etc., but actually not feeling so confident on the sports field, and actually finding that in this day and age, sport can be really welcoming. And I think in Essex, we have, you know, we're really welcomed across the leagues and things. So it's been brilliant, actually.
But one of the things that really I thought was beautiful about Nick's story, and to be honest, what I think kind of elevates the film to a whole nother level is just having your perspective in there, Nick. You know, when I joined the club and didn't know you at all, I remember having that thought, who is this woman and why should I listen to anything she has to say about rugby? And then when you were so graceful and beautiful and gentle, but forceful with how you coached, and you taught me all these things that I didn't know, and did it in such like a sort of beautiful manner. I was blown away. And when I showed the film to a producer, she said to me, she's a very well-respected producer in Australia, she said, "Oh, you need to establish Nick's credentials at the start, because otherwise we think it's just some politically correct appointment." But I like that audiences have this kind of prejudice that throughout the film you kind of smash through and shatter. And, you know, like I think the way that you kind of handle that and don't let it bog you down, like when you were the head coach, was just incredible.
Yeah, and I'm still facing it now. You know, I applied for quite a high profile role recently, and I'm currently doing my level 4, so it's the highest qualification you can get in coaching rugby, and I didn't even get shortlisted, and a male without that qualification got the roles. So we're still facing it now, and I'm still battling it now, and it gets a little bit tiresome. But when you're on the pitch and you're coaching, and it's a Tuesday night and it's soaking wet, and everybody's really giving it everything, like that's when it feels worthwhile doing it, really. So I think it's only off the pitch that you feel it's a battle. When you're there, in the moment, it's the best thing, really.
Yeah, you love it.
Can both of you talk a little bit about your playing days?
Yeah. Go on, Eamon, you go first.
Yeah, I played when I was 12. My dad would drag me down on the Saturday morning, and I'd want to throw up every morning, but then enjoy it and end up enjoying it when I was on the pitch. And then, yeah, just it went away and didn't touch the ball. And then when I moved to London and didn't have any friends, I went down to the club, even after they told me that it was full, and then I had to wait till next season. I just showed up, and it all kind of came back, and I was in the 4th team, which was sort of the developmental squad. But our first game, like I started scoring tries, and it just all came back to me, and yeah, it was just this incredible feeling. But while Nick tells you about her playing days, which are far more experienced and elevated, you know, she played for Wales, I just want to grab my husband, because, you know, he's played an important part in this film too, so I want you to meet him too.
Eamon's like being quite shy. He's actually a really good ball carrier. He hits the gain line every single time he ball carries, so it's a real strength of his. Yeah, I found rugby when I went to university, and I'm really quite small. I'm quite a diminutive person, I guess. However, I like playing in the forwards, so I didn't get very far for quite a while because I was just told I was too small. But I didn't give up, so I moved to London to Wasps, and I started playing for Wasps, and after a year or so I persuaded the Welsh coach to give me a crack, and I got a few caps. I wasn't particularly talented, and I was quite small for my size, so but I'm one of those really great club players, so I played for Wasps Premiership for 9 years. I met my other half. We've been together for 17 years now.
Nice.
And that's quite painful because she's really talented. So her claim to fame is that she was the first ever female to win International Women's Rugby Player of the Year.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So when your civil partner is the best women's rugby player in the world, you kind of
That's so funny.
I'm much better at running, so
Yeah, so you can insult her and then run away.
yes, I can outrun her, but that's it basically.
Yeah. So I wanted everyone to meet my husband John, because I sort of alluded to it before. He's listed in the film as an associate producer, because honestly, he, second to the hours I spent on the edit suite, he probably put the most work in, just giving really valuable, honest feedback, and was also a great rugby player too. But he kept dislocating his shoulder.
Okay rugby player. Dislocated my shoulder too many times. Can't play again anymore. Had to have surgery on it. But yeah, Eamon would edit it in our New York apartment. He'd edit it about 5 minutes a day. And I'd come back from work after a long day, and they'd be like, I've done some more. Do you want to see it? So I'd sit down and watch it. And I knew, like, okay, there's really great footage here, really great interviews. And so I was always very honest and very direct. And if I didn't think something worked, I was like, that is not good enough. You need to try better.
And then we'd be in a bad mood, and then I'd storm off, nowhere, because it's a tiny New York apartment. And then, yes.
I was gonna ask you, how was it mostly harmonious working together, or were there some rough patches?
He's definitely the comedian. No, I really appreciated his feedback. And, sometimes you need that honest person to give you that, because sometimes you're like, especially in the edit suite, oh, this is easy. Like, I've got it together. It's sort of working. It's good enough. And then you're like, actually, it's not working at all. Yeah. And you really need to hear that. Like the bit about my story where I'd sort of shared that story about being outed at school, when the guy who had one of my first sexual experiences with it filmed it and took it to class. And I remember you sitting down watching it for the first time, and you're like, and I just didn't know for the longest time what pictures I'd put on it, because you can't just have a black screen for 3 minutes. And we tried all these different things, like photographs of my old school. And I got my brother to take a little camera down and film my old school. And it was this wobbly vision to do like a sort of flashback. And it just was horrible. And in the end, I'd settled on that, me looking at the edit suite filming. And yeah, it was a really nice kind of thing to go through. And John's sort of such a wonderful supporter of the film, and every time it gets into a film festival, he gets really excited and he Googles everything about it, and then it's like, oh yeah, where are the laurels? Where are the laurels?
Like, where are the official laurels? I need to see that on the poster now. And I've watched it so many times. Like, I've said this to Nick in person, virtually. I feel like Nick is a celebrity. I've seen the film like 50 to 80, 100 times. And it's
good nerves.
Good nerves.
There's a line when Nick goes, I'm happy. Happy. And so we're like, how you feeling? I'll be like, happy. So we quote you all the time, Nick.
Oh yeah, in this household, every single day, I swear to God.
The only thing I think with this whole online thing, there's a shame is the feeling in a room. Eamon did this really lovely meetup before lockdown. In Soho, and we had this private room with mini cinema. I can't really describe it any other way in a private club. And there was just a moment of real togetherness where you could really connect with people's story with the humans around you. And I think that Eamon and Simon tell something that's so important, that, it's one of the biggest killers of young men across the world. And I think that to be able to be in the same room as people nodding, and to be in the same room as people feeling that connection, that would be quite magical, I think, because I think they're just so brave in telling that story, and I think it's something really important to be said, and not many people are brave enough to do that. And I would love to be able to just look around and just feel that connection with people.
Yeah, so if anyone's watching, they can record themselves, watch it, send it to me.
At Steelers the movie.
That's great. I mean, can you talk a little bit about Bingham Cup and the atmosphere, what it's like to participate?
Oh yeah, it's incredible. There's like 2,000 gay rugby players
Wow.
around the world, and like everyone is beautiful. No.
Everyone's focused.
Yeah, no,
everyone takes it so seriously.
It's just great because you all go there. It's kind of like, oh, if being gay was the norm and being straight was, the minority, this is kind of what it would be like. And it was so much fun. I had a blast, and the rugby's fantastic too. And it's so like 2 games a day. Let's go from this game to this game. But then you have, Nick's team, which is the first team, who like the level is very high. So, you guys were having ice baths and physio and,
I think that's what the nightmare is. I went to Nashville before Amsterdam, so I was kind of prepped for it. I wasn't prepped for it, but I was prepped for it because this Nashville was 1,500 or wherever, all on the same campus, all in the same place. And you just feel for the boys because this could be the party of their lives. They've got me being mum, being like, get to bed, get your t-shirt on, stop going out in the sun, stop walking around, you're dehydrating yourself.
Stop talking to people.
Stop talking to people, get your feet up, and it's literally, for every other team, it is like the kind of the best party that you've ever been to in your entire life, because you're playing rugby, you're meeting loads of new people and everybody gets you. And then the first team are like, oh, she's got another team meeting. Oh. Is she going to be checking that I go back out of the room after I've gone back in, And I'm like matron kind of checking.
I love Drew because, when Drew, is playing, I mean, Drew wants to kick your ass. He wants to win. And I think that what the film really does is sort of, show that, that when there's a game on, it's all business, it's focused. But, but when off the field, I mean, you can let loose. But can you talk a little bit about that aspect?
Yeah, I think that we went there to win. There's no doubt about it. We had 6 weeks out beforehand where we had full Saturdays. We had what was great about the team up until to that point. We had a really simple game plan, but absolutely everybody knew it. We'd all trained really hard for that moment, and everybody was really competitive. So there's this real connection with everybody really feeling like we're on the verge of something really special. And we had 3 concussions in our backs and 2 serious injuries, which just knocked out our chances because the tournament is so tough. Yeah. We went down to 21 players from a squad of 25, 26, and it was brutal. It was, we had some absolute, Felix, one of the fastest guys you've ever seen, top 10 in the world, long jumper. He hit his head, concussion in the first game. So these people had trained really hard up until that point. And so the pain amongst all of us is really palpable after the loss because we'd put so much into that point, and so, yeah, it was devastating because I knew how much effort everybody had put into it. And I spoke to Drew and he's like, it wasn't my most enjoyable season, but it was my most successful because sometimes you can have loads of fun, but you don't win all the games. Yeah. But our focus that season was really on winning. We wanted to come away with the Birmingham Cup. And then I flew home and the Guardian newspaper front page was the convict. I could have strangled the Guardian editor.
Oh God. I remember I was on the sidelines filming and then you guys scored the first try in that semi-final and you can hear me in the soundtrack go, yes. And then my heart was in my throat thinking, they've got it. And from a selfish documentary filmmaker perspective, I was like, this is the perfect story arc. They go on and win, yada, yada.
Yeah.
When we lost.
The decision go against us before half time. So Kieran put the try down and you could see him putting it down on the line. The referee called no try. And you felt like a momentum change. You could feel like this mental momentum change where if we'd have gone into the half with that try, I think we'd have gone through to, I replayed it many times in my head.
Now you have a film where you can watch it over and over and over again. But Yeah, it was funny. So I was filming and just at that moment, I could tell that people didn't want me filming, but then I had to not be aiming the teammate, I had to be aiming the filmmaker and get the shots I needed. And then we had Alex give his sort of big rousing speech to the club at the end, and my battery ran out just as he started doing his speech. And I was like, damn it, this was how I was going to finish the bloody film. I was so angry. I was like punching myself.
I remember.
And then I kind of just sat on it and I was like, I don't know how this film ends anymore. I think that's it. And then actually when I thought about it and came up with the ending about how, you know, sometimes you learn more from when you lose than when you win, and how actually as gay men, you know, that, or gay people, that we often face sort of battles and we don't always come out on top, but that's kind of a stronger and more powerful lesson in the end. And now I kind of selfishly love the ending, but it would have been brilliant if you guys won too.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, what is the difference when you're playing another gay team versus when you're playing a heterosexual team? Is there? I mean, what's the difference? Is there a difference?
Sometimes there's a difference. You know, sometimes it feels really good when somebody just makes a really off-the-cuff homophobic comment and then you beat them by 3 tries. That feels really good. So there's that. But then I guess when you play in a gay tournament, I wanted to play because I hadn't played in Nashville and I wanted to just feel what it felt like. And it was just a brotherhood. So when a scrap broke out amongst the boys in the first match, I was so angry because I felt like we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard here. This is amongst our brotherhood. If this happens, you know, in a league match where somebody has turned around and said something horrible, fine, give him a wallop. But right now, you know, we want to be seen as the best team in the world, and we want to be able to hold our heads high. So that's how it feels when you play in the Birmingham Cup.
When I played, you know, against the gay teams, it was always fun because you just, you know, you would have that hilarious banter where someone makes kind of a gay joke in the scrum when you all literally have your hands up around someone's crutch trying to hold on, or, you know, someone might be very smelly in the scrum and, you know, someone says something funny and all teams laugh. And then you know that you're going to go out and have a wild night out on the town with the other team afterwards. So that was always really fun. But when I played against the straight teams, when I moved up a league, it was, I never experienced any homophobia. It was always kind of just tough and brutal. And, you know, they say sport's the great leveler, and in many ways it is.
And sometimes, like, some of the comments weren't on purpose. I'll give you an example. So we played a pre-season friendly against quite a rough team, and there was a barbecue beforehand, and this mum was in the queue, and this little boy kept on messing about and saying, "Don't be such a puffer, get in the line." And she turned on to me and she went, "Not that I mind them, I don't mind them at all." And I didn't mean any offense for that. I'm like, no offense taken, is fine. It's okay. Don't worry. So you do get those kind of moments as well.
Yeah, we need to sort of wrap this, but I wanted to ask you, Eamon, because you've never been to Atlanta.
No, I'm dying to go, and we're kind of like looking up flights because I thought maybe, you know, it might have been open by the time this was on, but it wasn't meant to be. But you know, you said beforehand, and I'm going to hold you to your word that you're going to invite us down there and potentially do a special screening with the Bucks, and we'd absolutely love that. We're
gonna hold you to it. We're gonna Atlanta Bucks, Buck Cook. When all this clears up, when life is back to normal, I want a screening here, and I want a big splashy screening. I want both of you down here. I want all 3 of you down here. You know, because you deserve to see this with an audience. You really do. I mean, I really do.
Thanks. You know, thank you for selecting the film and showing it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so very much for the film. Thanks for sharing it with our audience, and all 3 of you have a great day. The rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks so much.